Hi, my name's Caroline. Welcome to my channel. Today I want to talk to you about an urge that lots of us have, and it's the urge to try and be perfect. Now, in counselling theory, there is a particular branch of counselling called transactional analysis. And within that theory, we look at the urge to be perfect as part of a larger set of what we would call drivers. And they're called drivers because we actually feel driven to act in that way. And so if you or anyone close to you has this underlying drive to try to be perfect, or at least to give the impression that they are perfect, that can cause themselves and also the people around them quite a lot of distress, and it can it can be really disruptive within relationships, within families, because all the time we have this urge and this drive to be perfect. It means that we're not really able to admit to other people sometimes, or even to ourselves sometimes, that we are flawed, that we, as everyone is, we are less than perfect. And so this underlying driver can be very much at the root of some of the reasons why we have behaviour like cleaning the house to the point at which it can disrupt a normal lifestyle, or sometimes it can contribute to certain eating disorders. It can contribute to other really unhealthy behaviours, possibly spending too much money on makeup or clothing, or protein powders if you're looking to be perfect in terms of trying to build muscles. And the be perfect driver can show up in lots of different ways. Often it will show up around wanting to look perfect. But very often it can be around wanting your house to look perfect, wanting to portray a perfect image to the outside world, especially for people who are on social media a lot, and so in particular for the millennials and the Gen Z generation, so the two generations below me, very much who've grown up with social media being a huge part of their lives. And they can feel very much judged by other people, even people they've never even met, and it can become very important to them that they, at least online, show this image of perfection. And certainly with Gen Z, perhaps more than the millennials, this is something that they've grown up with from a very, very young age, feeling as though other people are looking at their Instagram feed or Snapchat or TikTok and making judgments on them particularly according to how they look, according to the lifestyle that they are portraying to everyone else. But it doesn't just stop with the younger generation. It can affect any age group, as can any driver that results in unhealthy behaviour. But yeah, I just wondered if any of you out there experiences those types of thoughts. Do you feel as though you need to be perfect? Do you feel as though you need to portray to everyone else that your life is perfect and that you've got it all sorted, you've got it all covered? Do you feel as though you have to wear that mask when you're even around close friends, even to sometimes within relationships, within romantic relationships, if this driver is really deeply rooted, it may show up in not being able to admit that you've made mistakes, or not being able to show vulnerability around your partner or around your friends, or even your children and your family. And so it can become really quite destructive if you're unable to, if it reaches the point where you're unable to talk to people in your close group. Because if we're not able to admit that we are less than perfect, then we've got a lot we have to live up to, and sooner or later we all make a mistake. Sooner or later we all fall into a relationship with someone who's not that great to be around, perhaps, or maybe we've overspent on our credit card. Or maybe we've picked the wrong job, or chosen to move to a town that on second thoughts actually we don't really like it there. And so that can become really hard. And so just looking at the roots of this driver can really help us to try to understand it and to ultimately master it before it masters us. And there are 5 main drivers according to transaction analysis. There's be perfect, try hard, be strong, hurry up, and please others. And we can have, usually we have 2 predominant drivers, but we can have a mixture of all of them, or we can have a mix of sort of 3 or 4 of them. But there will usually be 1 or 2 that will show up more than the others. And it can be really helpful trying to understand those drivers. So what I thought I'd do is do a video taking a deeper dive into what that driver might look like. And you can have a think to yourself and just notice if that applies to you. And the reason why we have these drivers comes from our childhood, early adulthood, and they've been instilled in us through messages either from our parents or our caregivers, from our brothers and sisters, in particular if you had older brothers and sisters. It can be grandparents, it can be aunts and uncles, it can be teachers at school, any authority figures that were in your life. And it can also be friends, particularly when you're at school or at university. But more likely it would have been when you are a younger child. And those messages can be overt messages to you that you really do need to be perfect or be exceptionally good in one area or in all parts of your life. Or it can come in subtler messages through body language or through withdrawal of love or withdrawal of attention, so that if you don't get really high grades at school, for example, you may have then experienced maybe your parent perhaps doesn't give you attention, or maybe just sort of subtly you have a subtle feeling that they really disapprove of the fact that you haven't got an excellent grade, or you may find that a parent makes subtle comments about your appearance, about how you look, whether you're to this or to that, or should try harder in this area or that area to achieve, often unachievable goals. It may be that you very much received quite harsh consequences. For example, if you weren't contributing in the sense of perhaps housework, you may have grown up in the type of conditions whereby if you weren't cleaning in a certain way or helping out in a certain way, then the consequences would be really, really harsh for you, really unpleasant. And so the message that, if that applies to you, the message that you were receiving as you were growing up was that you are not okay. You're not okay as you are. The covert message is you are only okay if you are looking great or achieving high grades at school, or have loads of friends, or you are achieving great things in your hobbies or sporting achievements, or you're only okay if your room is immaculate, or if you are, cooking fantastic meals for the rest of the family. It can take lots of different forms, but the message is the same. The message is the same, that the love you receive, or the attention that you receive from your parents, caregivers, brother, sister, aunt, uncle, teacher, authority figure, that love and attention is conditional on whether you have achieved these things that they believe are important for you to achieve. And so we can grow up with this sense of, even if our parents are no longer alive, or even if we don't speak to our brother or sister anymore, or we most likely have lost touch with that teacher, or maybe our friends at school, even if they're not actually in our world anymore, we have those messages have gone into our subconscious, and we can continue to live our lives according to those messages that have been implanted, the seeds have been sown, and those messages will keep reoccurring throughout our lives until we decide to take notice, until the behaviour that we play out as a result of that message becomes really detrimental, and then we might decide actually we need to do something about it. And what's the answer? What's the antidote to being perfect? So the antidote is very simply, it's called an allower, and very simply it is not be perfect, which is a lot easier said than done. But all the times we can notice, so the first step would be to start to notice if you've got this message being replayed in your head, and then notice if your behaviour follows that message. Like, what do you do when you start to get this urge? What do you do? When you've hoovered the lounge, morning and evening, and really it probably only needed hoovering maybe a couple of times a week. So just noticing what our behaviour is doing, and then gradually, and I'm a big fan of journaling, when we notice our behaviour, then we can start to uncover where's that behaviour from, why am I doing that, how's that helping me? And then we can start to notice, well, actually, I am okay even if I don't decide to hoover the lounge 3 times a day. I'm okay as a person. It doesn't make me a bad person. And so gradually starting to perhaps not hoover the lounge. Now, I'm not talking here about people who have obsessive compulsions, because that is a completely different topic. But this is more about, when it's on the level of, it may just not be in your awareness. It may not have led to a compulsion, but just when we're at the level of this is perhaps not helping me. And so starting to adjust our behaviour is actually giving our subconscious the message that I'm okay even if I don't hoover. I'm okay even if, you know, I didn't have time to wash my hair and so I've tied it up into a ponytail. I'm okay as a person. That doesn't make me a bad person. And we can start to allow ourselves to accept that actually I'm okay even if I'm not 100% perfect. So I hope that was helpful, and as I say, I will do a video on each of the different drivers, so hopefully that can help you to understand, you know, what fits you the best. We all have drivers, we all have them, and so yeah, there's nothing unusual or strange about this behaviour, but when we can become aware of how we're behaving in reaction to someone else's thoughts, someone else's messages, they're not ours, then we can change our lives for the better. So thank you for watching, and if you would like to like or subscribe or comment, that would be lovely, and I look forward to speaking to you again soon.